Your wife wants out of the marriage, for real this time. She is serious about this separation, and it seems like her decision is final. Maybe someone's already moved out. You've tried everything, but she is still determined to start taking steps toward divorce. What do you do? How do you change her mind? Can you save your marriage? And if so, how? I've personally helped over 1,000 men going through separation in the past year alone. In watching these men, I've noticed that the ones who successfully saved their marriage tended to follow a similar strategy. This quick video will give you an overview of what this strategy looks like and how you can use it. Then you can get more detailed guidance by reading the page below. The basic strategy can be broken down into 3 steps. Step 1. Stop being desperate and start focusing on what you can control. Step 2. Figure out the man you want to be and then work to be that man. Step 3. Show this man to your wife at every opportunity you get. This is the hard part. Your number one goal in all of this is to rebuild your wife's trust. That's why I call this the 3+1 separation strategy. It's 3 steps working toward one big goal. You need both sides of the equation. Now, we'll talk more about why that +1, rebuilding trust, is so important in a moment. First, let's go through these 3 steps in a bit more detail. Step 1. Stop being desperate and start focusing on what you can control. Now, these might sound like 2 different steps, but really, they go together like a pair of gloves. To do one is to do the other. Why? Because desperation is what happens when you try to control what you can't. The natural solution to desperation is to focus on what you can control and resolve to make the most of it. Now, this has to be step 1 in this strategy because you can't do what you need to do. You can't get the best chance possible at saving your marriage unless you can control yourself. It's sort of like how on an airplane they always tell you to put on your own oxygen mask first before helping others, even your family. This is because you can't help your family effectively if you're spiraling out of control yourself. Your wife won't believe that you can make her happy until you show her that you can make yourself happy. So focus on the thing that you can control. You, the things you do, the things you say, the things you think, your attitude, all that stuff. And then worry about the other part, your wife's part of things, later. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but that's how you have to start this process. Focus on what you can control and stop being desperate. And that brings us to step 2. Figure out the man you want to be and then start working to be that man. You can't control your wife. There are no magic secrets here. The only way that your wife is going to come back to the marriage, truly and fully with her heart, is if she chooses to come back all on her own. You can't force her to make that choice, but you can give her a really good incentive. It sounds kind of cliche, but you do this through simple self-improvement. You do this by figuring out the kind of husband you know you can be and working to become that man. Now, it may be that you can look back in the past, look back at the start of your relationship, your marriage, and you'll see that you used to be this man. You used to be a better husband. You used to look out for your wife. And it might be that you need to re-find this man again. Or, for some of you, it may be that you've never lived up to your full potential as a husband, and you know it. Well, now is the time. It's time to step up and bring out your A game. It's time to look in the mirror and see what kind of man you want to be looking back at you. This is where all that stuff about sacrificial love, husbandly leadership, patience, forgiveness, all that stuff comes in. It's time to grit your teeth, take back your self-control, take back your manhood, and start putting in the work to become the man you know you need to be. For now, let's assume you know what kind of man you want to be. And let's assume that you have made real, genuine changes in yourself to become a better husband, father, and man. Many men think this is where the process ends. This is as far as they get. But no, there is one more crucial step. Step 3. Show that man to your wife in a way that makes her life better. As we said at the beginning of the video, this is the hardest step of the strategy. Simply making the changes we talked about in step 2 isn't enough. You have to show those changes to your wife in a way that is effective, in a way that gets her thinking about the new you. Sometimes this means doubling down on domestic duties, stepping up as a father, pursuing your wife and showing her beyond a doubt that you want her. Other times, this means exactly the opposite. It may be that the best way to convince your wife that you've really changed is to totally shatter her expectations by actually giving her what she wants: space, distance, silence. At least for a little while, until she's ready to come to you. Now, this really highlights why step 3 is the hardest part of the strategy, because unlike the other 2 steps, the way you do step 3 will be entirely unique to you and your separation. Why? Because you are a unique human being, and so is your wife. Your personalities are unique. Your relationship is unique. Your conversations and problems and circumstances and history, all these things are yours. Yes, it is absolutely true that most separations follow a similar pattern. Most men who come to the Haven will face similar obstacles, similar challenges on their journey back to a happy marriage. And they will make similar mistakes along the way. In fact, that's why I've prepared a free bonus guide for subscribers as a follow-up to the 3+1 separation strategy. In it, I'll show you how to avoid the 7 most common mistakes that men make during separation. But ultimately, the nitty-gritty, day-to-day details will be yours to figure out and make the most of. And this, my friends, is where we come back to that big +1 goal we talked about at the beginning. Rebuilding trust. Trust. The overarching goal in all 3 of these steps is to rebuild trust. Now, this might sound like a big task, and it is, but remember that trust has a simple formula. Trustworthiness plus consistency plus time equals trust. You don't rebuild trust overnight. You rebuild it slowly, 1 brick at a time. See, your wife has lost her trust in you. She's been hurt. She's been scarred. And she's built up walls around her heart. So when she sees you making changes in step 2, her initial reaction is going to be skepticism, doubt, and even anger. She will say things like, "Why couldn't you have made these changes years ago? Why did it take me leaving for you to change? I'm sorry, the damage has been done. This relationship is just too far gone. I love you as a father and friend, but I'm not in love with you, and I don't think I ever will be again." Now, underneath all of these statements is one problem: loss of trust. Love is a fundamentally vulnerable thing to feel for someone. In order for your wife to love you again, in order for her to be in love with you again, she must trust you first. So, this 3rd step, showing your changes to your wife and making her life better, is really all about consistency and empathy. You have to put yourself in your wife's shoes and see what it is that will make her do a double take. Then you have to be consistent in giving that to her. Whether you interact with your wife every day, once a week, once a month, only on the phone, only in texts, only when you're dropping off the kids, it doesn't matter. You can't control that part. Your goal now is to show your wife a confident, loving, content husband every time she interacts with you. No matter how you do it, the point is that you make the most of the opportunities your wife gives you to affect her feelings. You can't force her to give you these opportunities, but you can take advantage of them when she does. If you are making the most of the things that are under your control, then you are doing the best that you can possibly do, regardless of the actual outcome of this separation. And that's what the 3+1 separation strategy is all about. It's about giving yourself the best possible chance in your unique circumstances to save your marriage and change how your wife is thinking about you. Whew. There you have it, guys. This is the 3+1 separation strategy. This is the 3 steps that I have seen countless real men take in real separations to save their marriage. Let's go through these 3 steps one more time before we finish up this video. Step 1, stop the desperation and start focusing on what you can control. Step 2, figure out the man you want to be and start working to be that man. Step 3, show that man to your wife in a way that makes her life better. This stuff works, guys. It's not mind tricks or anything like that. It's just common sense. I'm not a psychologist or a marriage counselor or a guru or anything like that. I'm just a guy who's seen a lot of men go through separation and who has a passion for helping other men like you live up to their full potential inside their marriage. This strategy is what I have seen empower the most men to save their marriage, and I believe it can help you too. From here, I do highly recommend that you download a copy of the bonus guide below.